younger, I just wanted to be a poet. And put it this way, as ambitions go, I wanted to be an engineer, an astrophysicist. Something in the sciences was what excited me. I mean, when I dropped out of secondary school after Form 3, I of course wanted to be a poet, but I wanted to be in the sciences. But I was never good in mathematics. I could take first in class in the sciences, but my mathematics was 0. I mean, the highest mark I ever scored in mathematics in secondary school was 33 1/3. I remember it forever. And so it was as if, I mean, all the calculations in physics, I'll get it. But when it came to mathematics and Latin, they are my other choices.
What did you do?
I dropped out because my father couldn't pay. My father, when I was young, my father was a very rich motor mechanic. He had several lorries on the road, flying like a sapper, places like that. But by the time I entered secondary school, his motor mechanic was short. I had taken a downward turn. And it was like falling from a very high point. My father never recovered. But you see, at the back of my mind was only that if I had to do anything in the world by way of education, I should improve on my father's labors. And therefore, being a scientist was something that was really close to my heart. But as I said, apart from these matters of mathematics and the rest of it, I had worked myself into the frame of mind that I must be a writer. I did not really need to struggle to want to be a poet. I grew up with my maternal grandparents, and my mother's in Ekpoma. Ekpoma is now where it is called Ekpoma because the anglicization has overcome it. The proper word is Ekpoma. But when you hear Ekpoma, it is actually these days just a reference to the headquarters of the place. But as many as 18 villages own the proper name, Ekpoma. Anyway, my maternal uncle, my mother's immediate elder brother, when he was going to Germany to study agronomy, he had brought his things down, and he had this fine collection of books that at some point when he was saying that we should stop handling his book, my grandfather moved the books to a store, but adjoining that store was a room that I lobbied for and I got as my special room. So I could actually change the keys and have access to the books as and when I liked. And honestly, those books saved my life. I mean, just reading those books.
What kind of books?
Exactly. You had all the romantic poets. You had books like Pandit Nehru's History of the World, the series of letters he wrote to Indira from various prisons during the anti-colonial struggles. I mean, there was one book that followed me around the world. No, not one, two. One was Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Confessions, and then the other was a small collection by Martin Carter, a Guyanese poet who was one of those jailed during the anti-colonial struggles. That little collection saved me from believing that British romantic poetry was the only way to write poetry. And honestly, the correction it gave me was wonderful. So that much of what I wrote thereafter was like learning to see that the different traditions are different. It was after those poets that I read Modern Poetry for Africa, which was where I encountered the Soyinkas, Okigbo, Senghor, the Birago Diobs, and and the others. It's good that my uncle did what he did, because he actually was right to say that I should not be allowed to handle those books. So they saved the books in a place where I can assure you they were very well protected, because I loved the books, and therefore I couldn't let things happen to them. A few of the books, as I told you, went with me around the world. But I mean, if anybody made me a poet in that sense, it is that uncle who was very strongly opposed to my becoming a creative writer, because he felt that a creative writer wouldn't earn enough living to take care of a family. And he did not exactly think that somebody who had not acquired a university education would become a proper creative writer. I used to have these arguments with him, and I would name all the many writers, big writers that I know who never had university education but managed to make it. I mean, writers like Bernard Shaw, Charles Dickens, our own Peter Abrahams from South Africa, Amos Tutuola, and I would just go on naming them until he said, "Will you shut up there?" And in any case, I loved the collection of books he put together.
What will explain how you stayed faithful to books? How your love for books, your bedroom, your living room, the entire house is full of books.
You know that at one point in his war against my love handling those books, he wrote a letter to me in which he said, "Wait until you can buy your own." It was almost like he saw that thing and knotted it into my head that I could never give up the idea of wanting to buy my own books. And by the time I got to Benin, the idea of buying my own books was planted to a degree of no retreat or no retraction. I mean, the Sheme's bookshop in Benin City was where I encountered many of the modern European poets, like Quasimodo, Rainer Maria Rilke, Pessoa, Baudelaire. All the major European players of the 20th century were there. And there was this Umbari Olokun place that was run by Jacob Igariwa, the historian of Benin, where I was able to read Raberivello, Shoyinka, all the modern African poets, and they were specially illustrated by this Baba who did this house in Ibadan, Demas Woko. I mean, going to Benin from my village in the bid to run looking for a job was part of widening my capacity to read. And Benin then had wonderful libraries, small but fine. There was the local government library, and it is an embarrassment to know that we don't have local government libraries anymore. There was the American library, and then there was the very sumptuously put together British Council Library. Unfortunately, all those facilities are not available to younger people today. There may be just one or two people who would have become great writers by just walking into those libraries and sitting down to read. Well, while I was moving around those places, my uncle thought I was looking for a job. Of course, I was looking for a job inside the library. But you see, I was writing poetry at the same time. And Alfred Dineri, who became editor of the Midwest Echo at that time, showed my poems to Ikan Yakubu, who published the poems, and once saw me one day and said, "If you can write that kind of poetry, you can be a reporter." That's how I became a reporter. And that was 1968. And they had just set up the Rebels Atrocities Tribunal, which was looking at those who worked with the Biafrans when the Biafrans took over the Midwest. It was fun to be a reporter at the age of 18 in that rebel atrocity tribunal. But what I can tell you is that it gave me a way of looking at Nigeria that many people may not be able to appreciate when they read my poetry. Because sometimes the poetry may look as if it is exorbitant, adding more than is actually in the reality of the Nigerian situation. But when you think of those experiences I've had watching all these big men lie about each other at the tribunal, you will know why I could write the poet life. Because I keep saying that the poet life was not just about a poet, but it was more exciting to say the poet life rather than the politician life. If I said the politician life, what difference would it make? Politicians lie anyway. But the poet light came as a very young man's response to all those who were creating the symbols with which we interpreted our lives, whether they were politicians, writers, judges, or whatever. It was good, and I wrote the poet light in my second year in the university. After I had experiences that could make it possible for me to know that in the Nigerian society, many who are supposed to provide the symbols with which we interpret our lives gave us rotten images. I worked in the Midwest Echo in Benin City for only 1 year, 68, 69, and a few months plus. But I haven't worked as a reporter in the Midwest Echo. There was hardly any other job for me to do. I had started seeing myself as an intellectual, literally. So that when the newspaper broke down because it couldn't pay workers, I mean, it means I had to move to the next port of call. We lost revenue because we were very critical of the Bermudian government. And the idea that this rag of a newspaper would be the one shaking the radio stations every morning was just something I think they couldn't take in government circles. To worsen, they stopped giving us advance, that was bad. But to make matters worse, the Bermudian set up the Nigerian Observer, which wiped us out, literally. So that when I was leaving for Lagos, I was looking for a place where I could write poetry at night and do all the jobs in daytime. I mean, I imagined that I needed to earn a living. Since I didn't have a proper certificate with which to earn a living, I had to think of other things that I could do while I was writing my poetry.